Chapter 15. Right before I went to bed, I had sent Scar a text just saying, hey, thanks for today. Can't wait to see you next time. And went to bed. The next morning, still feeling really good. I checked, Scar hadn't responded, but, you know, it had been a late night for both of us. I pulled out the Quandary of the Order and read as much as I could. I made it through a few pages, and that's a lot, okay? Don't judge me. I made it through a few pages and finally stood up, needed to take a break. I got a snack and checked my phone again. Scar still hadn't responded, but it was okay. And I went back to reading and spent basically the whole day doing that. I got through 3 decades of Jedi history. Oh, and my mind was so tired, but yeah, I'd done good work and I went to bed. Next morning, I checked my phone first thing and Scar still hadn't responded. I was starting to wonder if maybe I was too awkward back at the feast, or if I'd said the wrong thing, or maybe my text just hadn't gone through, but it had definitely gone through, and I was way overthinking things, and I wasn't worried about Scar at all. I knew she could handle herself. I was worried about us. And I tried to do some reading, but I couldn't do it. I said I need to find out what's going on. So I tried to give her a call, and the mobile said the person that you're trying to reach is outside the area of service. I thought, what? Outside the area of interdimensional service? What? That did not click with me. And I said, alright, you know what? I'm not going to be able to do any more reading like this anyway. I need to figure this out and talk with Scar before I'll be able to focus. So I thought, well, it's been a while since Silteren might know where she is. That was the first place I thought to check. So I went through, grabbed my backpack that had all my stuff, the potions, and as well I had like granola bars and other things, and just random stuff from before, like a few, yeah. Grabbed that, put on my scabbard, clipped in my mobile, made sure I had my earbuds in, and I went through. I'd also started storing things in the scabbard, but the backpack was just, it fit better with everything else. But I went through and I had found a gate to get to Coruscant, a piece of charcoal that connected the 2 worlds. I had taken it from my mom's art stuff. I didn't think that she'd miss it too bad. She had a bunch of charcoal. And used it to get to Coruscant, and I like played around, but it still took me a while to get to the Jedi Palace from where I was. I didn't have many credits. Eventually I got there and got to the entrance, and you know, they didn't let just everybody in, and I had to prove that I was able to use the Force and mention Silteren, that I was going to meet her, and they finally let me in. And I went to her quarters and knocked on the door, and nothing, no response. I was like, okay, fine. And I turned to leave just as Sil started coming down the hallway. She said, gee, sorry. I felt that you were here, and sorry that it took me this long to get here, but you came just in time. I got the audible record of Quandary of the Order. I said, oh, great, and I took it. It was like a little player thing. I took that and said, thanks. I also, question for you, have you seen Scar lately? She's not responding to my texts or calls. And Syl sighed and said, "Gee, you have bigger things to focus on right now. Read Quandary of the Order. Scar is fine. I promise you she can handle herself. You need to read this book." And I said, "Sorry, you're right. Thanks for the Audible copy. I'll get to work." And I turned, went back out onto the platform, and traveled back home. I put the player in my room. That was going to be nice, but right now I needed to focus on finding Scar. Making sure that she was alright. Making sure that we were alright. I thought, well, okay, not Syl. I tried with Seraphim, again, nothing. I thought, okay, I'll head to Grant's place, see if he's got anything. Maybe I should have checked there first. Got in my car and drove out there from the park. I still hadn't found, like, an object. I had to go back to the place to get to Pokemon. And made my way to Grant's house and knocked on the door. He answered and said, "Gee, great to see you. Come on in." He was just tying a tie, had a suit laid out against the couch. He said, "I was just getting ready to head into work, but I've got a few minutes. What's going on?" I explained that I couldn't get a hold of Scar. Her phone was out of service. And he frowned at that. He said, "Those mobiles are interdimensional. They shouldn't have a service boundary." And I said, "Right? That's why I'm so confused. I just can't get a hold of her." He said, "Oh, that's weird." He said, "Have you tried from a different world? Or maybe it was just at the moment? Have you tried since?" I said, "No, that's a good idea." And I pulled out my phone and called again. And this time it went through. And Scar picked up. And I thought, oh, thank you. And she said, "Gee, where are you? What's going on?" I said, no, yeah, she responded first. She said, "Gee, where are you? What's going on?" I said, "Scar, thank goodness, I'm with Grant. Where have you been? I've been trying to contact you for days." And then I realized that the phone had, like, the line had been cut short. I wasn't sure exactly how much she'd heard. I thought, what the heck? And I tried calling again, and again, the number is out of service. I thought, what in the world? And I got a text that came through from Scar that said, "Don't trust Grant." And I saw that closed out of the message and put it back in my pocket and thought, what? But Grant is he's the one who's fighting against, what? And Grant said, what did the text say? And I said, it just said that there's no service, I can't get through. And he said, weird. Did she hear that you're here with me? And I said, I'm not sure how much she heard it. I don't know when it cut out. He said, well, if she heard that, here would be the first place that she'd come, and it's... I mean, she was here yesterday. She did look preoccupied. That makes sense if you haven't been able to contact each other. But... I don't know. I feel like this is one of the first places she'd come. If you want to stay here, you absolutely can. And that made sense. It also made sense if you're a double agent. I just didn't know what to think. And I said, you know what, I'll go try to meet her at the portal. That's the first place she'll come through anyway. I'll see if I can meet her on the way. And Grant said, oh, okay, good luck trying to get a hold of her, and let me know when you can. Because that's really weird. That's not right. I said, yeah, definitely. I'll let you know. And I went to the door and pulled it open to see two people on the other side. One of them was Darren. I slammed the door back closed, and he immediately threw it back open and yelled, running, charging after me. I used the force to throw him back and jumped over Grant's couch, and everything erupted into yelling, and there were no other exits except the window. And I ran using the force to bust out the window, and I jumped through, landed in the fire escape, and pushed myself off the fire escape just as Darren came through the window, and he narrowly missed grabbing my ankle, and we both fell tumbling through the air. I opened up my scabbard as quick as I could and pulled out my broom, got it between my legs, and pulled up. Darren was falling with me. I didn't see what happened with him. I shot up as fast as I could and around the side of the building, and swerved through the city, just trying to get away, get from being seen. I had no idea what was going on, and I wanted to be as far away as possible. I finally landed on a rooftop and let myself calm down. I closed up my scabbard so my sword didn't fall out, though it was clasped in, and I thought, no. As Grant, I just had no idea what to think. And finally, after calming down for a minute, I said, okay, I need to get back. If Scar knows where I am, she's going to try to get through, and that portal's the first place to go. And I pulled up my mobile to figure out where in the world I was, and after looking at it for a while, I figured out where I needed to go, and I flew from building top to building top. I did not want to be seen flying a broom over the street, but I made my way back and landed on the rooftop just next to where the portal was, and I peered over top and saw two people standing right next to the portal, and they were both at least a head taller than normal people. They were wearing very big coats and hats that covered them up, but as I looked closely, I saw gray skin. And as I tried to feel them out, I knew they were not normal. I thought they must be Profithians or something, but they were guarding the portal. I knew I wasn't going to get back. I thought, no, and I knew I did not want to be close to them either, and so I took the broom and I just flew off into the wilderness to just get away to where nobody could find me while I figured this out. I landed down in a small clearing and hid underneath the trees so I couldn't be seen from above. There was, nothing around, just trees and foliage. And I pulled out the mobile, and I'd gotten another text from Scar saying that she couldn't get through the portal that we usually use. She said she knew of another one, but it'd be about 30 minutes before she could get to Grant's place. And I texted her back to say I told her not to go back to Grant's place. And I said, let's meet up the first place where I tried to catch a Pokemon. And she said, all right, I'll be there. Give me about an hour. And I said, all right, meet you there in an hour. And I sat back and thought, all right, that's kind of taken care of. And all right, I need to think through what's going on. But I barely had a moment to think before something grabbed onto me from behind and lurched me up into the tree. I turned my head back to see, what's it called? Victory Bell? Yeah, it's a Victory Bell, I think. A Victory Bell pulling me up into the tree. The one with the acid sac, the plant thing with vine arms. And a lot scarier in real life, especially when they're pulling you in, and I tried to reach for my sword, but I couldn't quite reach that. Like, I would not have room to like pull that out of my scabbard. And I thought, what do I have? What do I have? As it was pulling me towards it. And I realized in my pocket was, sorry, I'm getting super worked up right now. This is a crazy chapter. Was like plant food from just a conference that I'd gone to a year back, and it was in the side pocket of my backpack, and I was able to kind of pull it free, and ripping it open, I spread it across the vines that were there, hoped to appease it in some way, and I started spreading the plant food along the vines, and it like froze, it stopped. And the vines loosened a little bit, not lessened, loosened. And I thought, is it working? I don't know. It's the only thing I can do though. And I know I have the force. I was stressed, okay, and I did not have practice with the force. It's not always the first thing that I think of. But I spread more of the plant food on it, and the victory bell, like, let me go, and reached for the plant food packet, and I gave that to it as well. Like, I let it go, and the victory bell took the food packet and let me go, and slunk back up into the treetops. I clung out of the branch because it had been lifting me up into the tree, and I made my way down and stepped away from the tree, grabbed the broom as I went, and as it like slunk away. And at that moment, the Ponita from before charged into the clearing, rearing ready to go to save me, I guess. And it looked around and looked up at the victory bell. I don't know how it had like sensed what was going on or what, but it saw that I was completely fine, and I don't know. I could tell that he was impressed. He was a very smart horse, okay? He has emotions. But I'd gotten myself out of the problem. I didn't need his help. And he seemed impressed. I said, well, it's good to see you again. You're a little late. And he huffed at that. and he sauntered around me, taking a close look at me. I said, you've been around. And I could tell that he wanted something from me. I couldn't tell exactly what it was. He kept motioning towards me with his head, and I wasn't exactly sure what he was trying to say. And he finally came over and nipped at my backpack. And I said, something in the backpack? I took it off and unzipped it, and there were granola bars. I wasn't sure if that was what he wanted, and then my hand brushed against the Pokeball that I'd first tried to catch him with. I pulled it out and said, is this what you're talking about? And he reached forward and pressed the button of the Pokeball with his muzzle, and it burst open and captured him, and didn't even thrash, it just stopped. I was like, did he just catch himself? I was like, that was the broken Pokeball. The hinge didn't work. How did that... It's like, oh no. And I zipped up the backpack again and threw it over my shoulder and pulled out the Pokeball and tried to open it up. I pressed the button and it was jammed. It wouldn't open up. And I was like, oh my gosh. I pressed harder and tried twisting a little bit and got a rock and started hitting it. And it finally burst open. And Bonita whinnied. And I said, I'm sorry, you're the one that jumped into the broken Pokeball. And he huffed at that. And I said, well, I'm sorry, it's not the perfect circumstance. Things are kind of stressful right now. And I looked at him and thought, I have a Pokemon. That's awesome! That's gonna help! And I had no idea where I was, but I said, do you remember where we first met? He nodded his head. I said, could you take me there? And he nodded his head again, so I grabbed up the Pokeball, packed up my stuff real quick, and I didn't have much experience with ponies, but jumped onto his back and he took off. I held on tight, and he was able to calm down his mane so it wasn't flaring in my face and burning me. And as we rode, I kind of talked to him. I could tell that he understood what I was saying. He couldn't really talk back, but I said, well, if we're going to be buddies, I need a name for you. How's Blaze? And he whinnied at that. I could tell he didn't like it. I said, well, okay, sorry, we're going to have to figure out something else later, because right now I'm a little bit frazzled. And he just continued on his way. We made our way through the forest. I had no idea where we were going, but he seemed to. And we got to the point where I had tried to catch him before. And I recognized it as the place. I said, great, this is it. And I pulled out my mobile, and I said, I made it. Let me know when you're here. And put back the mobile and got off of Blaze. And got a text back from Scar, and I checked it. And it said, and one to worlds, and one to stay, but both to darkness, both betray. And Darren stepped out into the clearing. End of chapter 15.